Welcome back to KOAN, Hot Talk, 1080 AM, 95.1 FM, Joe Miller Show. We've been talking about recent news, a little bit about Ron Paul. Ron Paul saying that he thinks that the United States is going to disintegrate into little factions. Secession, he says, is already underway. Probably talking a little bit about the constitutional crisis down in Alabama. There are a lot of people that... And Mr. Producer, I'll have you get that clip ready. There's some really severe reactions going on down in Alabama right now. People are reacting vigorously to the federal court order about gay marriage. You know, Alabama, one of the top 3 conservative states in the nation, overwhelmingly against gay marriage, one of the top traditional marriage states in the nation. And so to have an unelected federal judge come in and say, we're going to set aside what you as the people have decided is right for marriage in the state is really creating a huge amount of angst. Herb Titus was on this show, constitutional law attorney that actually represented Roy Moore several days ago, and he commented that, what Roy Moore has done in response to that is actually admirable. I mean, he's actually read the court order. The federal judge apparently, in the original case that came before her to set aside gay marriage, came in and said, well, you've got a probate judge that you've sued here. You really need to have the attorney general because she wanted her decision. She was already kind of predicting what her ultimate conclusion would be. She wanted her decision to impact the entire state. So she thought putting in the attorney general, that would do the trick because the attorney general obviously has enforcement authority throughout the state. But little did she realize that the attorney general doesn't have anything to do with issuing gay marriage licenses. So at the end of the day, she ended up taking him out, or at least putting in the probate judge that she'd bumped out before, and her decision at least applies to that probate judge in his jurisdiction as opposed to the rest of the state. So there still are a number of probate judges throughout the state that aren't issuing gay marriage licenses, but the church in Alabama has really gotten engaged, and there was one pastor in Alabama that just let the city council, I think this was in Birmingham, have it. Mr. Producer, if you could play that clip.
On yesterday, we had a historical thing to happen in the city of Birmingham. They call it historical, made history and all that kind of stuff. But I'm here this morning to talk about another history. To me, yesterday was one of the most bizarre scenes I ever seen in this city. One of the most comedic scenes I ever witnessed in public. When I witnessed men with size 13, 14 shoes out there kissing each other in the mouth in front of little kids. It was just bizarre. It was like a freak scene going on. That's what I call it. Now, I know about the government and laws being made, but I got a law this morning that came out of Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 31. And it says, shall a man leave his mother and father and join to his wife, and they shall become one. And to have your kids out there yesterday, 6, 7 years old, holding flags, the Bible said, provoke not your children to riot. Proverbs 22 and verse 6, 7. Train up a child in the right way he should go. And when he get old, he wouldn't depart. I'm so delighted and honored that God would have me bold enough to stand here and talk about this issue. Well, all the preachers was yesterday. You know what I mean? The only time gonna make them come out them doors when they stop them tithing and offering in your church. And you can't have Men's Day no more, and Youth Day, and Women's Day. I bet you're going to have a sign in your hand with Brother Ed then. You're going to be standing in front of the White House then. No, y'all got to leave us alone. You know what I mean? But somebody should have stood up yesterday. Ain't it funny everybody got a right but the Christian? So I'm here this morning to talk about my right, because I got a right too. I can barely say praise the Lord in public now. I might go to jail. I might threaten a lawsuit on the job. You can't tell a person to have a blessed day. Ain't it sad? Y'all, I got a text this morning, going to share it, which I'm getting on out here. I got a text all the way from Washington, D.C. And I'm going to go on and break the news to y'all, and y'all in the back of me also. In 2 more years, in 2016, February the 9th, you won't be able to marry your partner that you played football with no more. You're going to be able to marry your dog. You're going to be able to marry your cat. You're going to be able to marry your snake. You're going to be able to marry your rat, your roaches. Some of y'all been with the roaches so long, you might well go and marry the roach. You've been around your house so long, you're going to be able to marry your broom, your mop. Ain't we going crazy in this world, y'all? Ain't we going crazy? I know Alabama made a lot of money yesterday. I know somebody else made a lot of money too. Duracell ain't got no batteries on the shelf this morning. All the batteries gone. I tried to find a battery for my radio this morning. Couldn't find them nowhere. I said, what happened? They said, Rev, they bought all the batteries last night. They celebrated some kind of way. Just bought all the batteries. I don't know what they do to the batteries. Don't ask me that. I'm a preacher. I don't go there. You know what I mean? I don't know what they did with all the batteries. Now, Mr. Mayor, don't stop me in the hallway, you and your security team, and tell me I can't come here talking like I talk, because you got a political job to do, I got a biblical job to do. And I'm going to do mine and you do yours. I'm going to stay in my lane and you stay in yours. I ain't bought by nobody. If I had to die doing what I'm going to do, I'm just fine. Y'all remember Peter and Paul and Silas were thrown in jail? I'm getting out of here, Mr. Officer. Don't you push that button. You remember Paul and Silas were thrown in jail? You remember the 3 Hebrew boys were thrown in the fiery furnace? You remember Daniel was thrown in the lion's den? They didn't say when he show up or if he show up. They said we know he going to show up. Why are we scared today, preachers?
Your time.
Everybody coming out the closet but the saints. When we going to come out the closet? And all the gay people ain't show up down there yesterday. We got some down low people that show up. Some of them down here.
Preach it, brother. This thing is going viral. This guy stood up, city council meeting, Birmingham, and he basically let him have it. And this is what I'm talking about. I mean, there are completely diametrically opposed visions of where this country should go. Diametrically opposed visions of where states ought to go. Communities ought to go. So how do we as a country reconcile that? And I would suggest to you that the founders had a good vision for it. It's called federalism. I think that's the only way out of this. Because, you know, you've got people on the other side of the aisle that are just as committed to their perspective as this pastor so boldly stood up and talked about his principles. And there aren't many who will do it. Don't even hear much of that in the church anymore. But that was one Alabama preacher that knows how to preach it both within the church and without. But I think that, you know, what Ron Paul has talked about, although that might be an overstatement about where we're at as a country, it does seem to appear that people have they're reaching the end of their rope. Kind of along the lines of what Ann Coulter was talking about, where, look, I'm done with the Republican Party. If you sell us out again on amnesty, I am done. It's better to elect a Democrat than continuing to elect Republicans that compromise, count on our vote, and then sell us down the drain. Because you know what? You actually know the enemy in the Democrat. And these camouflage conservatives that go out there and advocate for basically the same thing the left does, those are the people that have got to be stopped. So we're at a point in this country where a lot of people are talking about it. It seems like at most of the events that I go to, talking to people across the state of Alaska in their homes, they're all wringing their hands and saying, what do we do? I really do believe it's time for the Republican Party. They've got an opportunity at the national level to show the people that they mean that they're going to stand by the principles set forth in the Republican platform. If they don't do it, though, there's not a lot of time left for them.